I guess I'm here to talk to you today about what a restaurant manager is, what the world of the hospitality industry brings, and I'm also going to keep it fairly light because I'd like you to be engaging with me. We're here to answer your questions, not necessarily berate you with a long, boring speech as to what it's all about. I'm here to answer what you have as questions and hopefully provide some insight for you as to my world. Every restaurant manager's life is a little bit different. I started at the age of 15. I'm currently 35 years old, which if we do math correctly, we're all in high school, right? Puts it at about 20 years now that I've been doing this. I started back in the days of A&W at the drive-thru. I went on to hostess at Applebee's. I went on to serve at Applebee's. After that, I joined my husband, who is also in the industry. He owns a little restaurant next door to the convention center here called East India Company. And we opened a few restaurants across Canada. So we were namely in Ottawa, Montreal, and I got a chance to travel and kind of start a restaurant from the ground up. This restaurant here that he's been at with his family has been in operation for over 40 years. The restaurant world, by that token, 40 years is a lifetime, literally. He is the third generation to run that restaurant. So, and being, a restaurant that started back in the early 70s that there wasn't a huge population that could support necessarily that type of restaurant because it is an ethnic restaurant. So back then, the challenges were a lot greater than they are today. But 40 years strong, I mean, that's a lifetime in the restaurant world, and kudos to the family there. So I've learned a lot from them. My schooling, education, I am a graduate of Dakota Collegiate. Anyone here from Dakota? No? There you go. I'm a graduate from Dakota Collegiate. You might see my awful picture somewhere down in the hallway. I think they're still there. And I went on from Dakota to, actually I stopped school after my first year of university because I got married. I have been married for 15 years as well. And I have two sons that are probably very similar in age to you guys. They're 15 years old, 16 years old. Yeah? Are you guys about the same age? Okay. So I hear it all the time at home. So if I'm boring you, please, it's nothing I haven't heard before. Then after having my two boys, I decided that it was better to complete my education. So I did it via correspondence through the University of Manitoba while having two babies at home. And I did my degree in business administration with a major in political science. I decided that maybe I should take a break from the restaurant world and work in politics because that was my degree. I should maybe see if I actually enjoyed this. So I went on to work as an executive assistant for Reg Alcock, who was a member of Parliament in Winnipeg South. And he was also a big driving force at the University of Manitoba. So I worked with him for a couple of years. You remember the big floods in 1997? I was involved in that. Not the flood itself, I didn't cause it, but I was out there sandbagging with him and the crews. I was probably, 18 years old, 19 years old. From there, I decided that maybe politics wasn't my thing after all. So I said, okay, I'm going to go and open these restaurants across Canada with my husband. And then I said to him, when we were leaving Montreal, I said, honey, we need to separate. He kind of looked at me horrified as to what I meant by that, because I said, no, listen, you don't understand. It's either we separate professionally or personally. So working together with your spouse for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week does provide us challenges, especially when you have a young family. And I decided that it was probably better that I break out on my own as we were coming back to Winnipeg. And we had been gone at that point for about 6 years. And I said, I'm going to just throw my name into the hat and see if anything happens for me when we go back. Sure enough, Mr. Doug Stephen of Wow Hospitality. I'm not sure if you guys know Wow Hospitality. Have you heard the name thrown around? WOW Hospitality is an organization in Winnipeg that was started by a couple guys from Dauphin. And one of those couple guys from Dauphin is my direct boss. His name is Jim Armstrong, otherwise known as my daytime husband. And Doug Stephen. Doug Stephen is the president of WOW Hospitality. WOW Hospitality owns restaurants such as its flagship 529 Wellington. It owns Terrace in the Park, Assiniboine Park. It owns Celebrations Dinner Theatre. It owns Muddy Waters at the Forks. It owns Finn McHugh's. It owns, what do we got here? We've got Peasant Cookery down in the Exchange, Los Chicos. In Alberta, they have Jubilations Dinner Theatre and Aussie Rules. So it's a massive corporation that owns all of these different concepts. Our motto is that we like to wow our guests. And notice the word I use is not customers, it's guests. I think that's a little bit of a distinction in this world because everybody gets called a customer, right? Who gets called a guest in someone's home? So this company, WOW Hospitality, was started in the early 90s, late 80s, and still is in operation today. We're going to be opening a couple new restaurants. We just did in December. I'm sure you guys have heard of the Lobby restaurant around the corner. Well, we took it over in December. And not we as in 529, but WOW Hospitality. And we're going to be opening another one in Kildonan Park called Food Evolution this summer as well. So we are an extremely busy organization and with a lot of great people that are involved in that organization. We're only as successful as the people we have with us. And we're very thankful to have some pretty talented individuals on our team. Going back to when I came back to Winnipeg from Montreal, I said, I'm going to throw my name into the hat and see what happens. And sure enough, Doug decided to call me up and say, I hear you're coming back. What are the chances of you actually coming to work for me? So we met, and I was actually slated to take over Pasta La Vista back in the day. I don't know if you guys heard of that place. It's the old Boston Pizza that was right here at City Place. So I went in and we chatted about it. And then I came across Jim Armstrong, who was running at the time 529. And keep in mind, at that age, I was about 25. And 529 is long been viewed as the premier restaurant in the city. It has that reputation, it has that name, it has that expectation. So as a 25-year-old girl, thinking to myself, do you think I can handle that? I wanted 529, not Pasta La Vista. And I talked with Jim, and he decided to take a chance on me. And I'll be forever grateful for that, because that was about 9 years ago now. And he took a chance on a 25-year-old girl in a male-dominated field. And I started as just a general, junior manager type position. And I have now moved up into the ranks, I guess you could say, of operations director and also a junior partner to 529 in 8 years. So I thank my daytime husband for giving me that opportunity and allowing me to grow and taking that chance. I was very thankful, and still to this day I'm thankful. My general everyday existence at 529 is pretty boring. I'll be honest. It's not something that's all glamorous, and though we do get those moments as well. Basically, from here, after speaking with you, I'll be going in to open the restaurant, and we're going to do our usual lunch and dinner service today. My days consist of usually going in about 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning, and opening the restaurant, checking each individual piece of cutlery, napkin, kitchen orders, speaking with my chefs, making sure everything is all set to go, all my front of house staff. It's about a 2-hour process just to get the restaurant ready for service every day. And then do it again in the afternoon for the dinner service. My hours can be from 9 in the morning till about 5, which are your typical, as they say, banker hours. And that'll be my day today. But tomorrow, for an example, I'll be in from 9 in the morning and I could leave at 2 a.m. Your hours in the restaurant world are not necessarily guaranteed to be banker hours. They are very much fluctuations as to volumes of what's coming at you. That being said, my good friend then, Jim Armstrong, taught me something when I first started, and for that I will forever be grateful. It's something that, I mean, even after opening restaurants across Canada, that's never stuck with me so much more as in over my last 8 years. He taught me, or he said actually, one statement that every day, whenever think I'm going to be a little lazy and not do something, slack off a little bit because he's not around, he said to me, my first week there, the emphasis on being prepared. Now, that's a pretty open-ended statement, right? What does that mean? Well, it took me, and it's still taking me, 8 years to figure it out. The emphasis on being prepared is you need to be ready for anything at any time, at any moment. Because just because I walk in the restaurant in the morning at 9:30 and say, okay, this is my plan, this is what I'm going to do today, as soon as I put that key in the door and I unlock the door, punch the alarm code in, I throw out that plan because it's not the same. You need to be ready to adapt. You need to be ready to go. You need to be on the ball, as they say, at every moment. Aside from that, I mean, the mundane, boring parts of my day, I do get to meet some pretty cool people. I get to work with some really talented individuals. I manage a staff base of 50-plus-year-old men, about 40 of them. And I'm one of the only few females in the restaurant. Those guys definitely gave me a hard time when I first started. They treated me like a little kid, which I was, and still am in their eyes, right? A lot of them could be my father, my older brother. But now we're all really good friends. But just think for a moment as to the logistics of that. You have a 25-year-old girl, fresh-faced girl coming in from Montreal, hasn't been in Winnipeg for the last 6 years, and you're basically told, okay, that's your staff, manage them. So you have 50-something-year-old men. These guys have all operated, owned, or ran their own restaurants in the past. These are my waiters. So it's a challenge, right? But I can honestly say after 8 years, we've kind of gone through the rough patches and we've come out okay. And we're all really good friends and very much a family there. We don't have an incredible amount of turnover at 529 in terms of staff. A lot of the guys have been there from the very first day that we opened. And that was in 2001. Have any of you been to 529? So do you know the building? Do you know anything about it? You been there? Cool. 529 is exactly where it said. The name and the address are the same. So it's at 529 Wellington Crescent, right near the corner of Academy and Wellington. And it's a mansion that was built in 1912, and it was formerly owned by the Ashdown family. Do you guys know the Ashdown family? Nope. Okay. The Ashdown family was a prominent Winnipeg family. He was involved in metalworks. He was actually, Mr. James Ashdown was once our mayor for a short time. And you may notice down in the Exchange District, the Ashdown Warehouse, there's a couple of restaurants in there. And so they lived there for a number of years. And then in the late 60s, I believe it was taken over by the Shriners. Do you guys know who the Shriners are? The guys with the little hats and the little tassel? Yeah? Okay, good. So that was their clubhouse for a number of years. And then in 1999, they decided that they wanted to get out of there. And we bought the building and did 2 years of extensive renovations to the tune of $2.2 million and opened the restaurant in 2001. 529 started off slow. I mean, the market for 529 was a very niche market back then, and thankfully it's expanded over the years. And every year we're going up and up and up in sales, which is, we're still in the honeymoon stages of the restaurant world, according to our numbers. We're about a $4.5 million net operation annually. And we're proud to have, hosted some of the most intriguing people in the world, and that's That's part of the glamorous part of my job. We get everyone from your couple coming in for an anniversary or a birthday to the likes of movie stars, rock stars, sports guys, and everything in between. So we're very lucky to have that large demographic that we are able to serve. And I'm very proud to be a part of 529 and its successes and its failures. No restaurant in the world is perfect. No human being in the world is perfect. We all learn every single day, and we all do the boring, mundane tasks for the search of the light at the end of the tunnel and to achieve that success at the end, right? I mean, not any day goes by that I don't make a mistake. Absolutely, I do. I get reminded of it by some of the guys at work. But we strive every day to make that little baby steps towards the end goal, right? So remember when I said that whole honeymoon period of the 40 years that my husband's been in the industry, in that restaurant? Well, we've been now a little over 10 years, and that's a huge achievement for us because everyone, when we first opened 529, said it'll be closed within the first 2 years, just because of what it was and what it represented, and we didn't have a market to support it here. Well, we've turned that around and we've proved them wrong, and so I think that's a big